Okay, gents, let's now focus on match week 16 in the Premier League. One game sticks out to me. Headlines, Liverpool, Aston Villa. So many headlines swirling, and that one with the return of a certain former Liverpool legend, Steven Gerrard, coaching now Aston Villa. Let's see what kind of reception he gets at Anfield. I'm sure it's going to be a great one. Nick Mendola, what are your thoughts on Liverpool against Aston Villa? Because Villa could cause an upset, but this does seem like Liverpool are just at another level right now. Gerrard or no Steven Gerrard?
It does. I'll say this. One of the things that's so annoying about Steven Gerrard is I think what's going to make him a pretty darn good manager is he refuses to give you the soundbite. They asked him about going back to Liverpool right after the last game. He's like, oh, it'll be fun. I've been there before. It's just another game. Next one up for us. And it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, you're going back to Liverpool. You're the guy. You're perhaps the English footballer of the 21st century, right? Like, in terms of carrying gravitas, and didn't he punch a DJ or something? Like, he had everything. He was off the pitch. He was on the pitch. He was commanding headlines. And so I kind of want, there's part of me that hopes that this game goes off and something happens on the touchline that turns him into the focal point of, oh, do we not like him now? Because that would be fun. But I think it's just going to be an incredible reception. It would be nice to see. All I'm really hoping is be nice to see him get emotional. It would be nice to see him because I watch a lot of Celtic Rangers and over there, and he did a really good job of knowing the game was important, but treating it like any other game. I just want to see that this is different for him. And we know it is, but I just want to see that from a guy who could be so steely-eyed and you'd be scared to be in a fight with him, against him, I should say, or maybe with him, right? And who knows what he'll pull out. I'm excited for this game just to see how he acts.
Me too. My mind goes back to the last ever game that Gerrard played at Anfield against Crystal Palace. And he was emotional on that day. And that was an incredible tribute to him from the Liverpool fans. They adore him, captained them to the Champions League glory. He obviously played a key role in winning so many trophies. He's a boyhood Liverpool fan, lived out his dream, captaining the club. He's a legend. I'm sure one day he'll be the manager at Liverpool, maybe even take over from Jurgen Klopp in a few seasons. Who knows? But it will be really great to see his reaction, because I do think, like Nick said, he's playing it down. But when push comes to shove and he walks out at Anfield on Saturday as Aston Villa manager, it's going to be tough for him to control those emotions, because he does lose it on the sidelines in a good way. When his team scores or something goes on, he celebrates wildly, but it's going to be so conflicting for him against the club that is all he's ever known, really. But fair play to him for going to Glasgow Rangers, becoming a great coach there, having a very good start. Aston Villa, 3 wins from the first 4 games. And yeah, let's see where it plays out. Andy, what do you think about this game? Because I can see Liverpool can fly out of traps, maybe going a couple of goals ahead, but then Villa have been really good in the second half of games. They've fought back. They've had a lot of good comebacks, scored a lot of goals in the second half since Gerrard came in, and gave Man City a pretty good run in the second half as well, didn't they? So can we see something like that happening at Anfield at the weekend?
This Aston Villa team is tough to beat. They might not win this game on the weekend at Anfield, but they are very difficult to play against. They're very difficult to break down, and I think that's been the most impressive thing about Gerrard coming in, and just the handful of games that he's had, is he has completely remade that defense, and he's done it by changing the shape just a little bit. He's got real actual protection there in front of the center backs. He's got fullbacks that like to get forward, but they're a lot more defensively responsible than I think they were under Dean Smith. And I think ultimately, I like the phrase that Nick used earlier, talking about Manchester United and Solskjaer, was, not great coaches. They find something that works and they stop looking for the next thing that will work, and they just stick with it. It felt kind of like Dean Smith had fallen almost into a rut with Aston Villa, and maybe that's the explanation for why that change needs to be made, because it was obviously the right choice to bring in Gerrard. He has that gravitas that Nick was talking about. He has a demeanor about him, and just, I think, an understanding of the occasion that a lot of managers maybe don't have. And I'm struggling to understand why Gerrard does. Maybe it's because he's so soon out of his playing days, and so he still feels a real attachment and connection to that. Whereas anybody that's, over 45 or 50 years old is so far removed that it all becomes part of just the endless and the never-ending cycle that they're a part of as a manager. And so he just has this perspective and this energy about him that he comes in, he means business, his team means business as well, and they've really taken on his personality. And I think that's one of the most interesting things that happens in sports is a group of players can identify with a coach, with somebody that's in charge, and really take on the characteristics of them, play the way that they want to, play the way that he did as well. There's just a lot of freedom within that team. So they're a good team. They're going to be really good, I think, under Steven Gerrard in 12 to 18 months' time, assuming that he's still there. But I don't think this weekend, it's probably a little bit too soon to say, well, maybe they can go upset the likes of the Liverpool.
I think so as well. But it'd be a great test to see how far they've come. His tactical nous as well to maybe change in game and try and change things up. But I love what you said there, Andy. I really think that he has inspired this Aston Villa group. They are a very talented group of players, but when they look up and they see Steven Gerrard's in the dressing room and they think about him as a player, what he's already done as a coach, how can you not be inspired by that? Because he looks like a man in a rush. He's not there to mess around with anything when he was playing. Now when he's coaching, he's all business, and he's there to help you if you want to be helped. But you're either with him or without him. It's very clear. And there's a lot of, if you look at all the great managers, it's very simple. They keep things very simple for players. You either do this or you don't play. And that's why I think one day, if not very soon, he's going to be the Liverpool manager. He's already worked under Klopp in the youth teams there and done some coaching at Liverpool. He'll always be welcome back there. So yeah, I just love his personality, as you said, as an Englishman who grew up when he was in his prime, watching him week in, week out in the Premier League. You couldn't help but be inspired by seeing what he did. And now he's doing that as a coach. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, I'm counting the players here down the squad, nearly a dozen of them that would have grown up in the UK and in England. And I don't know if we've said this in previous weeks. They grew up probably idolizing Steven Gerrard because of the player that he was. Nick made the case perfectly there. The chance to play for him has to be the most inspiring thing. They're probably texting their friends when Gerrard gets hired. Wow, the new manager, and the first day in, how was it? It just means something different to them, I think, than what we saw in the first couple seasons since Aston Villa have been back in the Premier League. They look so re-energized, and I think that's probably the best word, because I've watched a lot of Aston Villa this season, and the change from the first few weeks to these last few weeks has been so noticeable.
I'm trying to think of the equivalent, maybe
Patrick Vieira. Look at Palace.
Yeah,
there's something to be said for that. Yeah,
exactly. But the US sporting equivalent, Tom Brady coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars or something like that, and those players just being inspired to be around him. Something interesting. Nick doesn't really like that comparison. All right, we'll move on.
No. I want to throw this out there because I was thinking about it. All the examples have not worked out. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky have not been able to transmit their ideas of what made them great to other players, and that makes this even more special if it works out for Gerrard.
Definitely. For Liverpool, they're obviously very special. Won 6 out of 6 in the Champions League group stage. Found a way against Wolves, so just grinding out wins at the moment and just using a lot of players, which I really like now. They only have a couple of players out missing for this game. Obviously, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott's out, Roberto Firmino. But apart from that, they're pretty much back to full strength. So I love the way that Klopp is bringing in Divock Origi to score late winners and game-changing goals. And Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's having a lot of minutes at the moment in midfield, like Tsimikas and Neco Williams as well, just playing really well. And Konate's coming in to give Matip or Van Dijk a bit of a rest. So I really like the way Liverpool managing it. Let's see how they can manage it this weekend, because it's going to be a very special atmosphere at Anfield as Steven Gerrard takes his Aston Villa team back to Liverpool. It's going to be really exciting, lads. Really looking forward to that one. Focusing on some other games, I'm really excited and looking forward to going to Stamford Bridge to watch Chelsea against Leeds. I'll be there for that game. That's a sneaky good game because Chelsea all of a sudden are leaking a lot of goals. Leeds look like their old selves again, I'd say, especially with Rafinha pulling the strings and Patrick Bamford back and scoring. What do we think about this game? Because I'm looking at this on paper and thinking this could be 5-3 or 4-4. And a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have said that about Chelsea, but Edouard Mendy making mistakes, Jorginho making mistakes, Chelsea looking a bit defensively all over the place, and some of their key attacking players aren't up to speed yet. So, Andy, do you want to jump in here and try and predict something that's going to happen in Chelsea Leeds? Because I think all hell could break loose at Stamford Bridge at the weekend.
I would agree with that. I think Leeds coming into an increasingly desperate situation at this point. And I know that they've gotten a couple wins in recent weeks, but it doesn't have that same feel that they did last year. It doesn't feel like everybody's pulling in the same direction, and I really question if there's some broken relationships inside of Leeds at the moment, and if a matchup against Chelsea could ultimately be the thing that the straw that breaks the camel's back, and we start to see some actual real questions about Marcelo Bielsa and whether or not he survives the rest of the season as their manager.
That is an incredible point. I did not think about that, to be perfectly honest, because he's such a hero at Leeds United. But you're right. I mean, they're hovering just above the relegation zone. It's getting really tight towards the bottom of the table. So when the busy festive period is done and dusted, we'll find out a lot more about where each team is at and what the rest of the season is going to look like. Talking about that, Nick Mendola, Arsenal against Southampton. Both those teams are pretty desperate after recent results that didn't go their way. What are you looking for in this game? I think Arsenal in particular, they need a big bounce back win after those defeats to Manchester United and Everton, right?
All the numbers tell us we should think Southampton might be able to get something here, but they're not finishing their chances as much as they should. And the one thing that popped out to me when I saw that I'd be talking about this game was open play. So here's just a number for you Saints fans out there, wherever you are. Open play, 146 shots taken, 138 shots against. The expected goals is dead even too. The difference is Saints aren't scoring them. 7 goals below what they're expected to produce. So if they get this, shows you how important Danny Ings was, right? If they can get firing, if they can get someone to catch a hot hand, they might already be in the top half and looked at as a darling, because I do think they're a pretty complete team. And I say this from a neutral's perspective. It's surprising that we see them where they are on the table. So let's see if they can continue to produce chances in open play, but actually finishing them, because we know Arsenal will. And Bukayo Saka isn't at his clinical best right now, but I feel like half the game is him with the ball inside the 18, because he is just finding himself in space way more than a kid his age should, and he's still so exciting to watch.
He is, and I think this game is going to be exciting to watch if you're an Arsenal fan. Romeo's out suspended, Salisu is out suspended for Southampton, probably their 2 best players and most consistent players this season. And they've just been coughing up a lot of points since Ralph Hasenhüttl has been in charge, and it's 3 years ago this week that he did arrive at Southampton, which is crazy to think about. They've actually 71 points from winning positions they've lost, and that is much more than any other team in the Premier League during that span. So it shows you they're really good at going ahead in games, but not good at managing the situation. And they did that twice against Leicester. They went ahead last week, ended up drawing 2-2. And then against Brighton, 1-0 up against 10-man Brighton, who had some injury issues. 98th minute, they let in they just concede a silly goal again. So they're a really frustrating team. Nick said it there, though. They create a lot of chances, so they need someone to put them away. And for Arsenal, I'm looking at Aubameyang. I think he needs to start firing, or they need to start moving on from him and seriously plan for January or the summer to look elsewhere for their star striker, because Lacazette as well. Experienced players, but there's great young talent around them, and I just don't think Arsenal are putting away the chances they need to see off a lot of the teams that they should be this season.
Pre-Pepe.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of forget about him, right? Martinelli's there, Smith Rowe, Saka. Great talent in the attacking areas, but they need more opportunities, some of those guys. Andy, Manchester City against Wolves. What are we looking for in this game?
This is a tough run for Wolves. Within 4 games, they will have played Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea. I think they sneak Brighton in there somewhere in between, but wow, it could not be a rougher time. I've liked this Wolves team. They've grown a lot over the season. Bruno Lage came in with a fairly difficult job on his hands. There were some good pieces still there from Nuno Espirito Santo, but there was a lot of turnover that needed to happen. And I think given the way that their transfers have been orchestrated a lot by agents over the last few years, there were a lot of players that were ready to move on. And so it was going to be a change. And he's done a pretty good job, I think, of keeping a similar identity to what they had before, where they are very defensively sound and they're tough to play against. They're just not offering quite as much going forward. Adama Traore is not having the season that he did last year. Raul Jimenez is coming back slowly into form, but again, the chances are just not there in the quantity that he needs. And so it's tough to look past Manchester City having 75% of possession again, having 25 shots again, 11 of them on target, and Bernardo Silva scoring a couple of more just incredible goals. This Manchester City team, has been unplayable for about a month now since they lost to Crystal Palace. They've only conceded a couple goals. They look like they're playing a different sport at times against these Premier League teams who are also quite good at the game of football. And so it almost doesn't feel fair. And they get Kevin De Bruyne to come back from COVID-19 over the next few weeks to ease him. It's unfair. I'm beginning to question my Chelsea pick for the first time this season. And it's Manchester City, not Liverpool, that's making me do it.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. We texted the weekend, didn't we, where Man City were ripping apart Watford, and you just said, this isn't fair. This is unfair to the other teams in the Premier League. They are that good. And they have so many great players who are on form at the same time. And whenever they come in and out of the team, they just deliver, which is exactly what Pep Guardiola wants. So, yeah, good luck Wolves at the weekend. They have upset Man City in the past, but I feel like this might be a step too far this season and this weekend. Okay, some other games to keep an eye on this weekend. Norwich City against Manchester United. The Canaries, Dean Smith, a fairly new manager, has done okay. At Carrow Road, they host Manchester United. Ralph Rangnick had a very good start. I think this is going to be closer than most people think, but I think Man United will get the job done. Maybe look for a second-half surge. Maybe another Fred Wonder goal. Who knows? Leicester City against Newcastle United. Nick Mendola, I could see an upset win here for Newcastle United. I actually could. Obviously, they won last time out against Burnley. Big win. Give them a lot of confidence, momentum. And they've fared pretty well against Leicester in recent seasons, especially on the road. And Leicester are struggling defensively all over the place from set pieces, one of the worst set-piece defensive teams in the league. I'm just saying, the odds are in the Magpies' favours. And I'm going to move swiftly on. Crystal Palace against Everton. That's a game as well where both teams will be desperate. Everton to build off that big win against Arsenal. Palace have been playing well, but all of a sudden they've had a bit of a dip in results, but they've still been playing pretty good. And I think that's going to be a good game down at Selhurst Park. Remember, you could check out all the latest previews, team news, how to watch information for all of these Premier League games over at Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. And the three lads on the screen here, we'll be watching all of them. We'll give you analysis, reaction, our thoughts on everything going on. And that is absolutely appointment reading, of course, just like when we come here on screen and chat with everyone. Okay, gents, that does us for Pro Soccer Talk this week. Thanks so much for joining me as always. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you all very soon indeed. Enjoy the Premier League games this weekend. Cheers, everyone.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.